A toxic relationship is one where you feel you're diminishing. You get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you cannot be free to be yourself. And there is no respect in the relationship, you see. So there is a lot of control on the other person, and you feel like you cannot breathe. I mean, that will be more like, you feel like you can't be free to be yourself. You cannot have a different opinion. And then the other person expect you to be doing what they want you to do.
Welcome back to Wise and Shine. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, SG Budget Babe. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting topic. We're talking about toxic relationships included, and romantic compatibility and romantic competence. That's the key word. But before we go there, I want to introduce our guest. Winnie, you want to talk a little bit more about yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Winifred. I'm a couples therapist and relationship coach. I help children to have parents who are in love.
So Winnie is being humble there. She's actually one of the top voices when it comes to topics in this space. And some of you may have seen her work in various forms. She also writes on her LinkedIn and on various platforms. But yes, go check it out. In the meantime, we're going to talk about...
I just want to say her voice very nice.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's like, it feels like therapist voice, all very nice.
Soothing
There's a soothing voice.
right?
Like, I can't do therapy, they'll probably go crazy. It's like, 来了，你要讲什么？快点讲啊 ！Finish and we're done.
Your voice don't have the soothing
don't have
thing
soothing, don't have soothing, right? So it's different.
Very nice. I'm very happy. It made me happy. I appreciate good voice.
Great. But it's true. So it's great. Yeah, give us our premise for today.
Okay, so the genesis of today's episode is, so we all know and we've heard of toxic relationships. Hopefully you're not in one. So we want to talk more on healthy relationships, right? Because I mean, honestly, if you're in a toxic relationship, get out of there, get out of there before it's too late, right? But what about healthy relationships? And more importantly, what can we do as individuals and as a couple to foster and maintain those healthy relationships over time? There's also this concept of romantic competency, which we're going to introduce to you in this episode. So you'll be able to walk away with concrete actions and concrete plans, concrete takeaways, whether you are an individual looking to find your next romantic partner, or you are already in a romantic relationship looking to settle down or even improve the intensity and connection that you feel with your partner. So let's roll. All right, so let's start first with toxic relationships, right? What's your definition?
I have no definition for it. I am quite quick to judge on these things, right? So if I think there's too much problem, then I'll just walk away. I got no problem with staying in a
so your boundary is very good.
Very clear. Yes, very clear. Like if it's like this is someone, then let's just go lah.
That's very good. It sounds like you have one of the key pillars in romantic competence already.
Okay.
Very good.
That's good.
I don't have. Okay, I share mine.
Yeah, please.
Because I was in a toxic relationship before I met my husband. It took me several months to identify that it was actually toxic, because I felt like I wasn't really myself. The conversations I was having felt very below me. And I don't mean it in a very like I'm too smart and he's not. No, not that mean. No, what I mean is like the kind of conversations that I was having was not something that was making me grow in any way.
Not nutritious.
Yeah, not nutritious conversations. Yeah, very
it's
down.
True, right? So
it's just like, what do you eat today? Very, very superficial. Shallow. Yeah, it's very shallow, exactly. So that was one.
I had a friend who had that, like 7 years relationship. And then it's like the last few years was all just like Korean drama. And then he was like, oh my God, this one I cannot tahan anymore. Just when he was about to break up, then this other lady came on and she is all exciting and like futuristic. And yeah.
So walk away from that toxic relationship.
7 years, so what? Yeah.
But that's not toxic lah. That's just growing apart lah.
Yeah. I think for me, aside from the shallowness of the conversations, the other thing I recognized as the toxic factor was that he kept ghosting me lor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like he would say committed, but we never really had a proper status, and I was like, so hard to confirm. Like I know we don't say, you don't say, but like, is it really very hard to give an official word to it? And then at the same time, like, we never met each other's parents. Always felt like, am I someone to be hidden? Are you someone to be hidden?
Right.
And I think the main recognition for me, like the thing that really woke me up, was the fact that, when I was going through a hard time and he was going through a hard time, we weren't going to each other. And I felt like that is the sign of a toxic relationship, really. Because if we're only there for each other in the good times, then what use is this relationship? So I called it off. But it took me several months to recognize that. So how I don't have that romantic competency anymore?
No, you have. You've learned from your mistake, right? So you learn from it.
Yeah, 进步, very good.
进步. And then now you're happily married, correct? How long have you been married?
Yes. Wow, that's a good question. Forgot leh.
Oh no!
Wait, my count. 6 years.
6 years married and together for how long?
Almost a decade. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's for toxic relationship. What about healthy ones? How do we recognize?
No, actually, I wanted to. She said this thing about like, no lah, that's not toxic lah. Right?
So
like that was, she blurted that comment, right? So what is a toxic relationship?
A toxic relationship is one where you feel you're diminishing. You get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you cannot be free to be yourself, and there is no respect in the relationship, you see. So there is a lot of control on the other person, and you feel like you cannot breathe. I mean, that will be more like, you feel like you can't be free to be yourself. You cannot have a different opinion. And then the other person expect you to be doing what they want you to do. Then you have no room to be yourself. And I think the outcome of it that you will probably feel will be like, you feel very small. You feel small, you feel like you're not good enough, that you're always the problem. So that will be more of the toxic that I would define it as such.
That's how you define it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
But if someone seeks that kind of relationship, if someone seeks that kind of relationship,
then okay lah. If you're both happy like that, okay, no problem.
Okay.
So it's to each
That's
his
a bit
own, right?
questionable. And then my question, why are you seeking that kind of
of course,
relationship?
and that's the whole
But that's a
complex,
different thing, but
that's
it's
a
your
different
personal
thing.
choice, you see. You can, if you like that, okay. I'm not going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
So then what is a healthy relationship? Would inverting that be the answer?
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to know the healthy relationship. But before I share my perspective on that, I'd like to hear from the two of you. What do you think is a healthy relationship? What are the elements?
This one I'm very familiar. Yeah. There's a framework, right? Okay, I'm not familiar if that's a framework, right?
No. I come up with the framework, but I want to hear first.
I think for me, the first thing is y'all must feel safe to divulge things that are, not things that you will not normally tell the whole world.
Okay.
Right? So I think
Openness.
Openness, you must feel safe enough to do that. I think the next thing is like what you've pointed out just now, like if there's a problem, like, you know that there's a someone you can turn to, right? You shouldn't be running away from that person, right?
Yes.
So I think that is important. And then mutually, I think that it should be a little bit of like a thriving sense, in a sense of like, when you're alone, you can only do so much. And when you're with this person, you can do more. Although there's more requirements, that's the truth. There's a trade-off to going into a relationship. There are certain requirements that you'll be like, oh my God, more problems, right? So it never ends. But you weigh it out, you still feel like, okay, it's cool. I mean, net, it's more positive than if you were alone. Right. So to me, those are my few markers of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, net must be positive lah.
Yeah. Quite positive lah, not bad lah.
Okay.
Yes.
How about
I
for
will
you?
apply my student lens here and hack that by inverting the teacher's answer from the previous question.
Okay, 来讲 yes.
So my answer or my definition of a healthy relationship would hence be one where both parties can thrive. Instead of growing smaller, diminishing, we expand, we grow bigger, we hit our potential.
Very good. I like that.
We help each other to get there. This is what you do in exams, right? You invert.
You're very smart. You see this one.
You see, multiple choice also don't know. You cross out, then you find the answer.
A student.
Can see.
Yes.
Then the other thing would also be I think the safe space. Being
Safe
able to
space,
rant and complain if you need to, and be ugly in front of one another without fear of being judged. So like don't need to, I must put on my makeup before my husband wakes up.
Correct. Yes.
I can be myself. I can be like, wow, Taya, oh, auntie, here sit and glam, and it's okay because he understands like, I just need to in this moment.
I feel like that one need a bit of palette adjustments over time, yeah. Right, like really.
You
both
slowly
sides.
review
But
lah.
yes. You cannot. I don't feel like you go into a relationship immediately it gets to that level.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't.
Like eventually
Over time.
it fades into, not fade lah. Okay, it goes into that kind of very natural
Comfort
state,
level.
very
Yeah.
comfort.
Yeah.
And everybody is okay, then I think
Correct.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
lah.
because I think if I have to be in a relationship where I am always putting in
Always
on a
performing,
facade,
right? Yeah,
it's very
so
tiring because
yeah.
when we talk about this on other episodes, right, we're expected to always perform at work, in other contacts, at events and whatever it is. But when you go home, you want that to be a safe space for you where you can just be yourself. If you had a long day talking non-stop, you just want to be quiet and don't talk to me when I'm at home.
It's true.
Your partner gives you that space and
Yes.
recognizing it instead of like, oh, you don't want to talk to me. Is it I do something wrong? And then like, actually there's no problem, but the other person now create a problem and now you have additional stuff to solve. So to me, that's a healthy relationship, right? I must strive, we must grow. We are each other's safe space and we're healthy. And I think also one thing that I have learned is we try to judge each other less. And I find that this is very difficult to do, right? Because we are all human. We just are judgmental. Don't deny it. We are all judgmental because we all have certain standards. So it's really about like recognizing and try to put away our judgment of each other because it makes the other person feel small. So when we're able to have conversations, even if there's a conflict, we can express our thoughts and our anger on it without making the other person feel attacked or being judged if they have a different perspective. So it's something that I'm recently learning and we're really trying to balance that out.
It's true.
Yeah, so
and the skill set can transfer to a lot of other places.
Yeah. A lot of the skills in romantic relationship can actually be transferred to work because it will be less intense. The stake will not be so high. So actually you learn one, you gain three or something. It can be work, can be friends. And
Buy
all
one,
that,
get two free.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but don't go off then. So how 老师 my marks is
Very good, very good, very good. Very good. 很好，太棒了。
So exam keep invert if you don't know.
yeah. But come tell us, what is
What's
a
the
healthy
therapist-
relationship?
All right.
Definition.
This is kind of what I distill. So I think different therapies may focus on different things, but I think that fundamentally you guys have covered it. So number one would be T, trust. Right. And what does trust mean? Right. Trust is you are safe. You must, if you trust the person, you feel safe in the person. Right. You're able to be yourself. I think being who you are, being able to be yourself is really, really important. Otherwise, there's no point. If you have to fake it all the time, then that's not a relationship. Then you're just trying to please the other person. So trust is also about transparency, right? I'm not going to keep secret from you. If there's a secret in your relationship, I think you need to think why there is a secret law. Because if you can't tell what is important to you, to your partner, then what is that relationship about? Or if you're sharing that secret with someone other than your partner, then that's also a red flag, actually. Right? I can talk to this other person more than my spouse or my boyfriend or girlfriend. That has to be a red flag. Okay. So number one is T. The first one will be T, trust. Then you have F, right? F for fidelity. Fidelity means your commitment to it, right? How committed are you to it as well? And in this sense, it'll be about performing your role as well. So if you're the girlfriend or the wife, what are your responsibility? What are the expectations that you have? You have spoken about it. What is your responsibility as a husband and things like that, right? Fulfilling those roles, right? Because you marry for a purpose and I contribute and you contribute. So we want to have that fidelity. Fidelity is also about being on your side, like what you talked about, right? You don't just jabut when you're like something happened and all that, right? So fidelity is, I'm going to be here. You can trust me. I have your back, right? We're not going to leave and all that, which is also related to the third element, which is C, commitment. Commitment will be like you are committed to invest in the relationship. Not just about commitment to stay, but you want to commit to stay happily, not commit to stay and begrudge it, or people always say that the third ring is suffering, right? You have the engagement ring. You have the engagement ring, you have the wedding ring, and you have the suffering. So you don't have to suffer in the relationship because you can actually make it. Don't be committed to just be miserable in the relationship because no one will benefit from it lah. So that's the TFC. And then there's 3 more, SIC. S for shared dreams. You must have shared dreams, right? If you don't have the same dream, then what's the point of being together? If I want to be like a digital nomad and you want to be at home, that's not going to work because, you know, we are wanting different things and all that. So shared dreams will be things like your goals, maybe your financial goals or your life goals, or like whether you want to have family or not and things like that. Very, very important because that's your foundation. Otherwise, you always want to have somebody who share it so that you can complement each other or support one another, you see. So shared dream for S. And then I have like I for intimacy. Right? Intimacy will be closeness. We all start out as friends, right? You know, in any kind of dating thing, you always start out as friends, you are interested, and then you get to know each other again. So make sure that you maintain that friendship, right? And that closeness and intimacy also. So if you can maintain this, then the relationship will be very, very enjoyable. You know, intimacy would be like all sorts, are not just about sex or physical intimacy, but it's also about, can I bare my soul to you? Yeah, so friends, meaning like you want to have something that is more solid, right? Where you can really talk about what is important about yourself and connect and all. And when you're friends, you're not going to criticize each other, right? You actually like each other. So you may say, hey, I don't really like the way you thought just now. Lah. No, can you be nicer or whatever? But then in marriage, oftentimes you just say, hey, you're always very selfish. Kind of a thing, right? If you are able to say that, let's just treat each other like best friend, the way you talk to each other will actually also shift. Okay, moving on. The last one is another C.
Communication.
Close. Is conflict management.
Ah.
But conflict management inside also got communication, so you're also not wrong. Very good, very good. Right? So before you can do conflict management, you have to have communication. If you don't have strong communication, you don't want to do conflict. Right? Because a lot of people say, I cannot talk, so I don't want to argue, then I don't say anything, you know, kind of a thing, right? So like in the earlier episode, we talk about how conflict is actually inevitable and it's not necessarily a bad thing in the relationship. It actually allows you to really get to know each other. If you put away that fear of like conflict, it is actually something that is quite positive because it basically says that I'm different from you, but we want to make it work. So tell me why you're like that. You know, tell me why you feel this way, you know, and I feel this way. And then we say, okay, if we need to find some kind of middle ground, then we can start talking about compromise. But in my work with couple, right, I always say that is understanding precedes solution. If you don't understand, you can't find a solution. There's no point in finding a solution, you see. So the understanding must always come in first. So conflict management would be my last
I feel
year.
like that understanding precedes solution can apply to work also. Like,
Everything.
you must make your client understand why this episode is worth so much. Then they will pay money to
That's
sponsor the next
true.
episode.
She say,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, no understanding, they cannot, right?
Yeah.
Right? Must have that understanding.
It's true. I think that a lot of people say things like, oh, this problem very difficult. No, easy problems just solve naturally, right? So the underlying base is how much do you understand the problem, right? If you understand the problem, then there are 101 solutions out there to go about solving it, right?
Yeah. So very easy. TFC, SIC.
Not bad,
TFC, SIC.
Singapore Island Country Club. Okay. So to you, that is the framework and the basis towards a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I mean, one of the framework that I came up with to help, you know, listeners to probably build on it. And you can have your own for sure. But I think these are the key areas, the key elements of a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you were just going through that acronym, the 6 different aspects, I was already thinking and trying to see how it reflects or appears in my own relationship with my husband.
Yeah.
So I can relate.
Yeah, you want to share
on
more a little
point.
bit about that? Maybe one small part of it?
One small part. Actually, everything applies, Lee. So like when you say trust and transparency, not keeping secrets from each other, I don't think I have any secrets that I have shared with other people that I don't share with my husband. Yeah,
Ding,
even if I think like, you know, Hyun Bin very swai, I'll say, yeah, Hyun Bin swai ma. No need to, I only tell my girlfriend, don't tell my husband.
I already know already.
I also think this one.
Yeah, universal. Only you don't think swai,
Okay,
right?
I don't even know who the hell the person is, but yes, please continue.
Yeah, and then when you talk about F was fidelity, right?
Correct,
Commitment.
yeah.
My husband and I did talk about being, we have to make sure our deal breaker, which is infidelity, will never breach this relationship. You talk about C, which was about the first
Commitment.
C is commitment. Yeah, so we were committed to each other. We actually made that clear right from the very beginning. I think 1 or 2 months into our relationship, we were already quite clear on that. Just that we never BTO. So if you want to know when to BTO and not make the mistake that I did, go and watch the last episode. We'll put the link in the comments below. And then you talk about S, which is shared dreams. I think this is where it might differ a little bit, but while you're talking, I'll try and see where it comes together, which is my husband and I each have different dreams, but we support each other into chasing our dreams. And when one of us changes path, we decide that, you know what, the dream that I was chasing doesn't really work. I want to do something else. We support each other there. And at the same time, even though our dreams are so different in different lines and different traits, but we come together and we have this underlying shared dream, which is how do we perform at our career while still building the shared life that we want to have together? What is the family that we want for ourselves? How do we want to raise our kids? So this is like our shared household dream, like a family unit. That's where we come together while still giving each other space to thrive on each of our own paths. Yeah. And then the other one, I would be intimacy, right? Yeah. So both physical and sexual. Sorry, that's the same. Both physical and emotional. Yeah, we try to have that. I think where it is lacking lately is ever since becoming a parent, when you have young kids, it's quite hard to have couple time, couple dates and all. So we're trying to make more space for that.
I thought you were going to say after your parents, very hard to exercise at night.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No energy.
Not just that, okay? Everything else, but like trying to make space so we can also, you know, go out with each other. Because only when we date each other, we sit across the table eating dinner, we go and do an activity together. Then we get to talk more, right? Like I think our latest conversation was, we went for one of the IPL. After IPL, we went and said, hey, let's go and grab lunch. So over that 1 hour lunch, we were having a very deep conversation. I forgot what. I think it was like parenting style and childhood parenting trauma. Yeah, it went super deep, you know. Yeah, actually, so what was supposed to be a 1 hour lunch ended up being really long. And then after that, he said, like, what do we have next? And initially on the schedule, I had work to go to. But like he wanted to continue the conversation because we were already in so deep that he offered to drive me to and fro. So he took 3 car trips just so that we could continue the conversation and not have it leave
Definitely
off.
in the flow already.
Yeah, in the flow
In the
already.
flow, in the
And I
flow.
realize we really need to make time for these kind of things.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
these deep communications and these deep conversations
Intimacy
and
and
intimacy
that
will
really
not
bring
come
you
up.
closeness,
Yeah, correct.
right?
We don't just want to wait until there's an issue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that, and then the last one will be conflict. I think this is where we can do better. I'll be first to admit, like, I think in terms of conflict management, we have a lot of things to work on. Everybody probably does. But we're really learning how to tackle it, and it's always like you need to disentangle the emotion first, then you tackle it. Because when we are in that heat of the moment, we say a lot of nasty things that later on we regret. So we had a shouting match with each other in the car before that really became very ugly. So we decided, like, you know what? I think we should just calm down. Okay, let's only deal with it when we are a bit more in the
control, like in control of
in
your
control
emotion,
of our own emotions.
Yeah.
So how we communicate that is also something that changes all the time depending on what the conflict is. Yeah, but it's definitely something that we've been working on since our wedding days. I think prior to our wedding, there wasn't really much conflict. But you know, when you start planning a wedding and it's a stressful event, that's when all the conflict starts. Then you have a kid, you have a house. Then the more you have together, the more stressful the thing. The more conflicts come up.
You keep stacking up, like you say.
Yes, correct. So that's something that we will keep learning there. And I think that's a never-ending process.
Yeah, it's ongoing, but hopefully you'll get better and better at it as well, because you will learn more about each other too, right? About the style.
What's the biggest struggle then for amongst the people that you work with? You know, like amongst all these different factors, right? Like what are the things that the people struggle the most?
Because I see a lot that are married, right? So I think they struggle with intimacy. And also
Intimacy.
trust as
Bought
well.
liao, huh? Is it?
No,
You think
intimacy meaning
is-
closeness lah. Meaning like I don't really know what's going on in your life, lor. Actually, like I stopped caring about what's going on. So when I say about intimacy, is really that bond that I feel with you. Which can be physical, sexual, everything, emotional, and even intellectual, right? Like you said earlier, right? The first guy cannot talk because it's not matched with your intellectually lah. So there are all these components, right? I think a lot of them when they come in, there's an emotional disconnection, right? Then emotional disconnection, then you go and wandering around and then you have third party, or you are more likely to succumb to temptation. I'm not saying that they look out for third party, but a lot of time it happened and then you just go along with it because there's no break, ma.
Because they feel the third party feels the void, right? That
Yeah,
could
the
have
third
been
party
filled by your
feels the
partner.
void that the partner has not been giving. And then the transition, like you said, the parenthood is really quite hard. A lot of times, if you do the transition to parenthood well, you would actually, the chances of you getting better, getting strong will actually be high. But if you break there, right, the chances of you repairing like 5 years or 6 years down the road will be much harder because you don't intervene there, you see. Which is why, to me, I feel that the transition to parenthood is a critical period. But then I can spend a whole episode talking about this, so I shall stop here.
Okay, so for those of us who are not in a healthy relationship, then what can we start with? You mentioned there is a romantic competency framework. Would you be able to share and elaborate what that is?
Okay, so romantic competence is really about how the skills that you take to actually find a partner and understand what you want and then communicating it as well. So romantic competence allow you to have a successful relationship. And then there are 3 key components to romantic competence. Number 1 will be insight or self-awareness. Number 2 will be mutuality, meaning like understanding my needs and your needs. And then third one will be emotional regulation. How do you regulate your emotions when things don't go your way? So these are the 3 elements in romantic competence.
Okay. So you think that this is the anchor of and this is quite a framework that's been developed over time,
Yeah,
right?
so this framework is actually developed by Dr. Joanne Davila, and I chanced upon it, when I was also trying to update my own knowledge and all that, because I'm actually trained in Gottman methods couple therapy, that don't really talk about romantic competence, but I'm always in the lookout for things that can supplement what I'm doing in my work and all that, you see. So when I found out about romantic competence, I like it very much because it is a proactive way of teaching or educating young people, singles, or even like those who are in their early stage of relationship, on what are the factors that can help you to have a longer lasting relationship and save you from heartbreaks, you see. Yeah, and this kind of work really excites me rather than you come in and then it's broken already, so hard to fix, you see. So I've been focusing quite a bit of my time in really like doing this in my coaching work. So it's really helping to equip young people with skills and all that. All right. So
could you elaborate more on these 3 skills?
For sure.
Like, what are some practical applications, for instance?
Practical application. Actually, both of you have already. Number 1 is about insight, right? Insight or self-awareness is really about how much do you understand yourself. So that actually has to be the fundamental, right? Because if you don't know who you are, how are you going to learn another person? So it's 2 things, right? You understand yourself so that you can understand your partner as well. Right? So these are the things like, what are the things that are important to me? What are my deal breakers? Which are the things that we talked about earlier as well? Like you say the trust. So what are the things that I look out for in a relationship? How do I go about getting it? So it's the skill in like finding the right partner, knowing when to leave a difficult relationship or a toxic relationship. So this will be self-awareness. So I'm going to give you a story about this person whom I saw, and he was married for 25 years, right? And then 25 years. They got married quite young, so they're in their 50s. And then after that, when they came in, they wanted to seek help. Actually, they were in the process of getting a divorce, but they want to retract it and see if they can work on the marriage. You see, and I found out that the partner, the husband in particular, really have no self-awareness, and he doesn't intend to also learn it, because he would just say that, I'm not good at talking. I just don't want to talk. Like and they're like, why don't you like to talk? Oh, because I just don't like to talk, right? So there is this lack of awareness of how these will impact the relationship, you see. But they managed for 25 years, right? Because he just keep quiet lor.
Just take it.
You just take it in and just follow what the wife wanted and things like that. You see, it can work also, but up to
Very
a point.
stifling,
Because then
yeah.
after that, the children are grown and then they say, hey, actually, why am I with you? Right, things like that. And then you don't feel the support and all that. So I feel like he didn't also have the skills, right? He didn't believe that he can actually learn how to be better or learn how to talk, or that the relationship with no communication is no relationship. Right, but you're comfortable in that state and say that that's just who I am. So I'm a bit wary when people say that's just who I am, because then how can I help to encourage or to motivate you lah? Number one, self-awareness and insight, right?
So how can people get to be more self-aware?
Oh,
or
how
those
can
who are
people?
clueless?
Okay, we have to be willing to ask some questions as well. Meaning, like, let's say if you have been in a relationship and it didn't work out, then you want to find out why it didn't work out.
Exit interview.
No, not so much exit interview. Meaning more like for yourself.
Can you tell
like,
me why you don't want me already?
No, your partner. You yourself can say, hey, actually, what did I... do a post-mortem, right? You know, don't waste that experience in some ways. You know, just talk about it, because this is how you reflect. So reflecting is one way to gain self-awareness. Some people are naturally at it. Like, I mean, for myself, I super self-aware because since young, I already think about things, right? So it comes to me naturally, but a lot of people may not necessarily like it. So you have to decide, you know, whether you want to build this self-awareness or not. But the insight
I'm
about
thinking
yourself.
of all those online personality questionnaires that you do, and then they tell you are this color, you are this INFP, all that kind of
that
stuff.
can also help you. Yeah.
Right.
That can also help you. So personality tests and all that also help you to understand yourself better, because it's really about knowing yourself, right? So that will be the self-awareness. You can do that by getting feedback from your close friends. You know, they can tell you certain things that they observe about you, because we are usually quite blindsided to our own flaws lah. Yeah. So then you can gain awareness from there, and you can get feedback from people and all that. So that's how you can ask your partner to, you know, is there anything about me that maybe is difficult for you to handle and all that, you see.
Okay, I'll ask my husband that question later when I go back.
You probably know the answer
No,
already.
and to be fair, right, even if he or she say no, right, it may not be the full truth.
Maybe not really no.
Right.
I would
Sometimes
say that just take it at face
take it
value first.
Okay, take it at face value. Don't
Because
overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink it. You can say, hey, no lah, actually right now it's okay. I'll say, okay, good. If you change your mind, you can come and talk to me lah.
I like that.
Right? If you change right now, you may say no, but later if you go back and think, like, okay,
actually got this one thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then I want you to know that anytime you feel like there is something, you can come and talk to me.
Okay. I like it. Take it at face value.
Yeah,
yes,
take it at face value first.
Yes.
Because if you start doing how I know you're telling the truth, then you are breaking the
endless
trust
thing,
already.
right?
Accusatory, judgmental.
Yeah. Okay. So let's
fair.
go on to the second one.
You talk about
Second one is
mutuality,
about
right?
mutuality, right? Mutuality is really about knowing that I have needs and you have needs. And then what happened where we have competing needs?
Yes. Yeah, fair,
Which
fair.
leads to the emotional regulation, the third one, right? Because we have competing needs, and therefore we need to find some way to address it. And people who are conflict avoidant, they cannot regulate their emotion, they will avoid it, you see.
What is competing need? Like I need to send my kid to atas school, but to you convenience is a priority.
Yeah, that can be
and that is a
competing needs.
conflicting need.
It's a competing needs, or meaning like, you know, for example, being successful at work, like I really want to get this house, a landed property, and then I want you to be more at home. To spend time with the children and things like that.
I don't want. I want to be a career woman.
Okay.
Or like I like you to be a stay-at-home
So
wife.
it may not even be in the same field, of things, right? Because okay.
So needs assessment is actually quite critical. How can you get more self-awareness? Needs assessment is like knowing what are my own basic needs, right? You know, things like, I mean, for myself, it will be like to be understood and to understand. That's one of my core needs, right? So I seek to understand, and I hope people will understand me. Or like some people may have like their needs as like freedom or a sense of autonomy. Or you can have needs like I need to be pampered, or I need to feel the affection.
Yeah, I like that. I'm always very cautious with big words like freedom, like,
What? Freedom?
like freedom or like responsibility.
No, but I
those
can
are,
relate,
No, because
like,
those words
I
are
need
very
my
abstract.
freedom.
No, those words are very, in my world, those words are very abstract.
Okay,
It's
I'll
not.
give you a concrete application.
Yeah.
Like, I need my freedom, so I can relate to that, because I don't want to have to account to my husband every single thing in my schedule all the time.
Okay, then that is what you want. You don't want to account to your husband for every single thing you want. Don't need to be elevated into an arbitrary
It's
word
freedom,
called freedom.
because I have the freedom to go out and meet my friends, go and do this.
No, and
and I
that-
don't have to, I'm going to meet so and so all the time.
Exactly. So that is my biggest qualm with a lot of
Terminology lah, right?
terminology, because these things, right, are airy-fairy in my
Yeah,
world,
so we
right?
need to unpack,
It's
ma.
open for, no, it's not even about unpacking. It's just that when you use these kind of very big words, liberty, responsibility, love, freedom, these things are very loaded, and they are always being jostled around. Or how do you define it? Everybody is trying to jostle those
I think
words.
that's why the question
So
is,
my,
what does
my,
this look like to you?
My position is that you should just define it in a clearer fashion. Like what you just did is very clear. I don't want to have to report to you all the time where I'm going. That's great.
Yeah.
Right? I like that.
Okay.
Very, very clear. In my world, that is very important.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I guess there is some association that you put with it lah. Like for example, responsibility, right? It's the sense of doing doing what you need to do. Right? Basically, it's doing what you need to do. Freedom is I can decide. It's like I have the autonomy. I'm in control of how I want to spend my time, what I want to do with my time, and everything, like, or what I want to do myself. Basically, right? Yeah. But maybe let's come back. Okay. So, mutuality is really about understanding my needs and your needs, and then communicating it to each other. Because there will be times when we are not. There will be like this disagreement. You see, that's when conflict happens.
Actually, that's what just happened. You see,
Yeah.
I was communicating my practical one. You were communicating that what the hell is freedom? It's too big. I
Correct,
don't
yeah.
understand.
No,
So
and-
that's
yeah,
where the mutuality
exactly. No, and the thing is, I'm not even disputing you. I agree with the element of we want to be clear with what we need. That's why I'm adding on to the discussion, because I think a lot of time the words are too big.
I think also it depends on the
Right.
couple, because
Yeah.
like to some people, big words can be easier to
Yeah,
understand.
correct.
So you cannot give so much concrete things.
Yeah.
It gets lost.
Really?
So this one is about preference, like abstract and concrete lah. So you are more concrete, we are more
Yeah.
abstract. Like we come with the concept first, and
Then
then after that
what
you unpack.
exactly
Because
does this
concept
mean?
covers everything.
Okay.
And then it can be many, many things. Meaning, for example, like, I don't want to be accountable to you. It's just one aspect of freedom, you see.
Yes. So we can keep listing down more
Correct.
and more of that,
Yes,
right?
correct.
It's just difference. I think here is an issue of preference.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I think it's great, because for me, essentially I'm laying down to tell a lot of you, it's like don't think like that, right? Because it just does not jive with people like me. If we want to go for these kind of things, then it can be listed down lah.
So that's where the
Right,
mutuality
clearer.
comes in, ma. Because when
Yeah.
the partner knows this is your need,
Yeah,
exactly.
then they will
Or
change
Or this
the
is your preference
communication.
as well.
Yes.
You make it very clear, so you communicate.
Yeah.
So when you know your needs and all that, no use if you don't share.
Yes.
Right? Say, hey, Winnie, don't use big words.
Yeah.
I prefer it to be concrete. I said, got it.
Great, right? Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So then
yeah.
we can have better communication that way lah.
Yeah.
Good point. So we've
like
already
it.
illustrated.
Yeah, exactly. Live on set. Live on set. Great.
Yeah,
great.
essentially mutuality is really knowing that not only you have needs.
Yes.
Your partner also has needs, and then how do you also make effort to find out, you see, and not assume that, you don't want to do this because you don't love me. Maybe there are other things that's going on as well, you see. So that is the part about understanding that there is this such thing called mutuality, and we have to give and take. Right? Give and take, communicate, give and take, find some kind of compromise.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm. But even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
So the third one is about emotional regulation, right?
I feel like a lot of people cannot regulate their emotions. Can you explain more
so
about that?
emotional regulation is really very, very fundamental, because what it means is you are able to to hold yourself, not like to suppress it, but when something happens, you're not gonna like fly off the handle all the time, or you fear like something bad will happen, like there's an escalation and all that. You see, emotional regulation is really about helping your brain to realize that there's no threat.
I want to bring in a perspective. So I read online before, some couples say, hey, but being a couple means that we're each other shared space. So I should have the right and the freedom to be ugly and fly off my handle. But
Okay.
then on the other hand, like you said, flying off the handle, then you say some horrible things you
My
regret
take,
and all. So
It
how,
depends also. It depends.
Yeah.
I hear your take
My
first.
take on that, right, is that it's like a bank, right? You can draw, you can withdraw from it, right? But at some point, it reaches a point where I'm empty,
Yeah.
right? Then I'll be like, okay, bankrupt now.
Hey, we covered this in the other episode.
Yeah, in another
Link
episode.
in
And
the
I like
link
that
below.
you actually, I was going to talk about love bank as well. Like, not other than your actual bank for money, you also have love bank. But I'll come to that later on. Coming back to this, right? I want to be safe and free to be myself. But I think that is it at the cost of hurting your partner? Let's say you and your husband are very good, right? You say, hey, I want to rent only, rent, then you can rent. And then after that, you're like, okay. But if you happen to have a partner who get triggered by this kind of rent, then it's not safe for that person, you see. You can come out, and after that, you are okay with it, that he's still like, what happened? You angry or not, you know? So it really depends on how well you understand your partner. So back to self-awareness, right? And consideration. You see, you want to rent, you can, but make sure that the other person is able to receive it. Because if you're doing damage to the other person, that's not fair.
It's true. It's
You
true.
know, and so that again depends on how well you understand your partner. You know, so safe space can, yes, good, but doesn't mean it has to be your uglier side lah. You want to be able to be yourself.
Yeah, and on that front, right, about like the whole like renting type of thing, right? Because there are always days where you need to rent.
Sure.
Right. So what I have come to practice is I will let the person know I'm here to rent. No need solution from you. You don't need to participate in this. I'm just here to rent. You can listen? Can. Okay, so that means I got
Yeah.
their approval.
Yeah.
And then, so in their head, right, they also draw a very clear boundary. This is not about me. The energy is not targeted at me. I'm just a bouncing board for my friend,
Yeah.
you know, or for
Very
my
good.
partner.
Yeah.
And then it's just...
Yes,
After that,
exactly.
and that's it.
Okay,
Okay,
done. I feel good already.
Let's go. Yeah, so
Very good. So that's a skill as well, you see. It's a skill to kind of like communicate and say that, to express love. Because I don't know, Ma, are you angry with me?
Yeah.
Because right?
Exactly.
Are you angry with
Exactly.
me? I'm not angry with you. I'm frustrated at this, but I need to vent.
Yes.
Okay, you just listen.
Yeah.
Right? All I need from you is listen. And after you say, oh, thank you very much. Very
Yeah,
good.
very happy. I'm very happy. Right.
Yeah.
And then to them, they feel like a fruitful partner and a fruitful
Correct.
friend. And then,
Yes,
and then, you know,
absolutely.
yeah.
So the emotional regulation is also like knowing what will trigger yourself, you see. And I think a lot of conflict avoidant people, they're really poor at emotional regulation. And this could be from their family of origin, either like when they have too much fight at home and they feel helpless, so they don't like it. And they have never really learned how to de-escalate. Right? You don't have the skills to de-escalate. You don't know how to repair the relationship and all that, you see. So it becomes very frightening. So they don't even dare to say things. They avoid issues and stuff like that because it's a lack of confidence that you can regulate your own emotion. So the solution to it is actually learn how to soothe yourself, you see. Like really how to calm yourself in moments like this. And when you feel like, oh, now my heart is palpitating very fast. Okay, I think I need to pause and just calm down and focus on something that can help me to feel better. So that's already self-soothing. And we do that, we teach young kids, right, baby, we sayang them and all that. That's self-soothing, that's soothing as well. It's co-regulating, we call it co-regulating. You know, so you can help that for your partner in sessions. So I teach my couples to say that maybe usually one partner will be more averse to it. They shut down. Why do people shut down? Because they cannot handle it. They walked away. Right? Because they cannot handle it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to step out. I'm going to run right now. Right? There's nothing you can do. And in those moments, there's no point in getting the person to sit down and talk because no point.
It's just going to make it worse.
You'll just make it worse. So the smart thing to do is actually to say, okay, this is not the right time. We take a break and we come back to this. We'll circle back later on, you see. Yeah. But you need to recognize that what are your triggers. Maybe certain words you say may make me more frustrated. You know, the accusatory, like, oh, you're so selfish. You know, this kind of thing will always make you more angry, you see. So the onus is on us to actually express ourselves in a way that that doesn't trigger the other person lah, right? I feel really disappointed when I feel hurt when you do this, kind of a thing, and things like that. It will be better than the you didn't this and all that. Because when you say you, whatever, the defense immediately come up.
Very high. Yes,
right?
yes.
Like, how is it my fault?
Yeah.
One thing I learned also, right, is that the I language versus you language also not so clear cut sometimes. Because for instance, there are a lot of I language. It looks like an I, but it's actually a hidden you. I wish you did this. No, but really not. So the person may not realize also, like, I'm using I language. Okay, I go in a conflict. I use I language. Then they say things like, I wish you did this. I wish you didn't do that. And the receiver actually sees it as, you did this. You didn't do that. So then it becomes like, hey, your I language don't work already. Yeah. It's like, the more of I realize is that I feel I was disappointed. And
Correct.
those are more...
No, I feel you.
Yeah, correct.
I feel you is turned away. It's just like a opening statement only, right? Yeah. So there are a few things for emotional regulation, right? It's like the being mindful of your own threshold, knowing when to stop and things like that, and when to comfort yourself, you see. So, I mean, actually, all of us, I think in our culture, the self-soothing part is a little bit weak, I would say, because maybe from parents, hey, you cry lor, they don't really come and saya and all that, but maybe they do it till they are 2 or 3 years old. Then after that, they stop. Hey, stop crying already. Kind of a thing.
It's like 3-year-olds cannot cry already.
Yeah, the soothing part is actually important, meaning like I learn how to soothe myself when I see somebody do it for me. You hold it and say, it's okay, you can calm down, it's not dangerous or something. Just stroking actually can help. So when you're like, I will do this, or you can just rub, and like some kind of physical touch actually help you to soothe yourself in some ways, you see. And so some people, when they fight, they say, oh, we hold hand. There's some merits to it lah, if you are okay with it. Because I want to say that even though we are disagreeing with each other, but we are still together in this. So they hold hand and they fight. I mean, I personally cannot do it, but there are other people who can. And I think kudos to them for doing it, because it's a very solid reminder that, in spite of our differences, we are still together.
But 101 ways, right? But I think at the core, de-escalating and soothing each other, I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, and not triggering the other lah. Don't go and add fuel to the fire, right? Or you see that actually they're overwhelmed. You actually need to stop yourself. That's also emotional regulation. You have to regulate your own emotion. So I have people who must talk about the problem today.
Oh. Yeah.
Right? So the confrontational type, I cannot sleep, we don't talk about it today. Then they go and push the other partner to say, hey, must talk about it today. We talk until like 2, 3 a.m. I say, if you talk until 2, 3 a.m., there's no point, because you're not going to resolve. You're so tired already, you see. That's not very sensible use of your time. So people who has to insist that they have to learn to soothe themselves and say, oh, this is difficult for me. I really don't like this feeling of being hanging up here. What can I do to make myself feel better right now? Maybe I should go and sleep first, because my partner clearly cannot talk to me. But I must also say that actually he cares. It's just that he doesn't have the capacity right now.
Yeah, what I have tried, right, is to just sleep in a separate room, right? That means you build the distance and let the energy kind of settle down, because when you look at the person, it's just like,
Cannot, right?
Cannot, right? Like, can this person cannot just sit next to me and like as if nothing happened like that. Just cannot. So then you work with the distance, right? Build that distance. Everybody just have a few days off, let it kind of simmer down, and then you come back at it again.
So I have to say that for that approach, you have to make it known when you are before it happens. Meaning like when we have conflict, this is how I like it to be. I need that space. You see, because I think that if you say 3-4 days like that, and what is the meaning that other people attach to it? Because some people say, hey, don't sleep together, sleep in separate room is bad news, I cannot handle it. So the person may feel very threatened by that. So you actually escalate that feeling of being separation, you see. Right? For you, it's like to cool down, but for the person in the relationship, you are distance, you are cutting me off from you, which will increase the insecurity, you see.
Which goes back to the mutuality of understanding each other's needs.
Exactly.
True.
Which is why now you see why it's so important, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Like all
Yes.
the three things fit into each other. It's like the
Yeah,
trinity
They are trinity in some ways, and they lead to each other, you see, which is very important. So for conflict, people who cannot control the like, you cannot sleep if you don't solve it, right? You have to work on your emotional regulation. Because it's not on your partner, it's on you to
On you,
actually
yes.
soothe yourself and distract yourself, do whatever to take the mind off first. Because if you know that this is going to lead to a bigger fight, why do you want to do it? So I have this case recently, like the fight that they have where one person keep pursuing the partner, you see. And then the partner actually communicate, say, okay, we talk through text, because if I talk to you in person, right, I'm going to lose it. Already give warning sign actually, But then the person, no, I want to speak in person. Go and barge into the room, talk. And then after that, it really escalated into something really ugly. They started throwing things and stuff like that, you see. And I would say that that's because the person didn't really respect and hear the need of the other guy. I'm not saying that he's always his right to do that. Of course, it's not nice. But that's what the person need at that moment. And you pursuing it actually make it worse.
You're not smart to pursue it.
You're not smart to pursue it, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to understand who your partner is.
Yes.
What made them tick and what actually helped them to calm down and what will aggravate them, you see. Then do the smart thing by not aggravating.
Yeah, tarik a bit lah. Tarik a bit. Give everybody some space. We're all old already, right? So
I think all this has been really insightful. So you've learned you've given two really good frameworks for us to use. One would be the TFC SIT, and the other one would be the Trinity of how to, go into a relationship. Not just romantic, actually. I can see that being applied to even singles, to colleagues, and to family, like parents whom you want to repair your relationships as well. Yeah, so it's been really, really useful. In closing, what would be the biggest takeaway that we each have from this?
Yeah, I would really love to hear that.
Yeah, actually, my biggest takeaway, I think, is really just back down to the emotional regulation side of things, because a lot of the skill sets actually, people have heard it many times, right? Like communicate. Every time I hear the word communicate, my eye roll, because as if I don't know, right? But the nuance of it is hard, right? In the sense of like when you're at it, when you're at the game, right? Like emotions are running high. What do you do? How do you soothe yourself and regulate the other person? Such that it comes to a better place to then properly communicate. I think that part is a skill set, right? And it takes a bit of practice, or not a bit. It takes quite a lot of practice, as with any, as with any skills, right? Like it takes a lot of practice, which fundamentally means, right, you cannot avoid the conflict if you want to learn to be better at doing this thing. Yeah.
I love that your takeaway.
Thank you. Yes.
I like the mutuality part the most. I felt like that is something that we often forget, because when you first get to know each other, when you first date, when you're getting to talk, right? You do all your talking at that stage. Then you think you know the other party already. Yes. So then you don't work on it, you don't bother. And we fail to recognize that their needs change over time. So this was a really good reminder to keep practicing. Like keep working on it, to ask has the needs changed? Maybe we should have that conversation again, create those couple time to talk about these needs, so that we can align and come to a good.
It's true. I want to add to that, right? Because I had multiple relationships that it was great while it was at it, but because I'm on the fast lane, right? I move very fast. I do a lot of things very fast. I develop very quickly, and then we just drifted. Right, and we're just thinking different level. The things we talk about different level. The expectation of life is a different level, and then it's got to a level where it just doesn't make sense. Like the mutuality of it is just no more. Right, so yeah, just adding to that. Yeah.
Very good. I'm very glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite topic to talk about. I can talk non-stop.
Great.
All right, so you guys enjoyed this episode. You can follow Winnie on her socials as well. Where's the best place you can find you aside from LinkedIn?
Other than LinkedIn, you can also find me at promises.com. You can get the services from there also.
Okay. But LinkedIn is the best place lah.
LinkedIn, you can. Yeah, you can. Okay. You can reach me there.
Okay. All right, so you can follow Winnie's writing on LinkedIn as well, and be sure to stay tuned to go and catch the previous episode that we did with Winnie about BTOs and relationships, healthy relationships, and how to walk away versus stay in it. And you know what? Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see any future topics debated in any future episodes, or if you want us to get Winnie back for a future episode to talk about something else regarding relationships, let us know in the comments below, and we might just make that happen.
Nice. Oh, she does all the closing. Very good. Bye.